All right, it's 6. Get the show on the road. By show, I mean Pilates, and by road, I mean mats. Let's get Pilates on the mats. All right, option to show your video or not. It's up to you. Feel free to modify the movements, especially if you feel like any pain in the neck or lower back. I'm going to be predominantly on the mat here, and I pretty much don't take breaks, but at any point that you want to stop and drink water, please do so. All right, targeting our core muscles here. Just anything that attaches to our spine and pelvis. Let's talk about our breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Inhale. Exhale. If you don't prefer breathing this way, you don't have to. This is just the way Pilates breathes. Joseph H. Pilates, the guy who invented Pilates. And part of it is that as you exhale out through the mouth, which is not something we normally do, and a little bit forcefully, we can recruit some abdominal muscles in the exhalation process. So inhale is nice and deep, and exhale is more forceful than normal. You can hear yourself exhale. Let's go ahead and roll on down the mat here. Lowering down one vertebra at a time. Good. Inhaling again through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. Let's talk about the inference. Inhale through the nose. There should be a small space under the lower back for your neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Exhale, inference. Draw the abdominals downward, and the lower back will make contact with the mats. Inhale, back to neutral. Exhale, inference. It's a very, very small movement. I'm going to kind of exaggerate a little bit. Here's my neutral and then my inference. So you hopefully see my pelvis rocking back and forth a little bit. We want to try to maintain inference during Pilates to protect the lower back. Inhale. And exhale, inference. Keep the imprint, lifting the legs to tabletop. The knees are over the hips, the shin is parallel. Gently press those palms into the floor. Exhale, lower one leg, tap the floor, inhale. Feel free to go just halfway down if you like, especially if you feel any strain in the lower back. We really want to maintain the imprint, a strong imprint. So as your toes are lowering, think also about your lower back sinking deeply into the mats. Exhale to lower, inhale to lift. You don't need to keep your eye gaze on me if you have your device set to the side. You want to keep your head and neck aligned with the spine, facing the ceiling throughout this class. Glance over when needed. One more on each side. And then we'll try lowering both legs at the same time. Again, keeping the knees bent at 90 degrees. Exhale to lower. If you feel yourself losing the imprint, then stop the lowering and come back to your tabletop. We're only going to go as far down as we can maintain imprint. Exhale to lower, inhale to lift. Doing our warm-up right now, bringing focus and awareness to our abdominals. Bringing focus and awareness to our breath. 2 more. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Last one. Good. You can drop your heels, feel the relaxation of your quads, and then bring your feet to the floor, hip distance apart. Come to neutral, take a breath in. Exhale, imprint, and then roll your tailbone right up into your hip bridge. Some people call this a glute bridge because you're squeezing your butt, pushing the hips up, or it's called a hip bridge because this is your hips and it's like you're making a bridge. Inhale at the top and exhale, slowly roll down. And some of you may have heard it called the shoulder bridge, and that's because you're resting on your shoulder blades. But you should never hear it called the head bridge because It's not about putting pressure on the back of our head. If I needed to lift my neck, I mean, not my neck, my head, I should be able to, because the pressure is on my shoulder blades and in my feet. Looking for that strong, straight neutral. Inhale at the top, exhale. Slowly roll down, keeping the glutes engaged until the tailbone hits the floor. Inhale, exhale, slowly roll up. Inhale, just coming to neutral. Not trying to push our hips as high as possible. Exhale. Do a couple more at your own pace. All right. This not only works the glutes, but is also a hip flexor stretch. So right here, these are hip flexors, and they're being stretched. All right, doing ab prep or a crunch position. Nod the chin, look toward your kneecaps, and exhale as you continue looking at your kneecaps. You're going to use your abs to lift the head, neck, and shoulder blades off the floor. Inhale at the top, exhale, relax. Inhale at the bottom, exhale. Once again, slowly with control, you use your abs to pull the ribs toward the hips. Now watch that your shoulders are elevating here. It's not about the shoulders coming up. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Release. Inhale. Just keep alternating the breath. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, curl up. Protect the neck by tucking the chin, eye gaze on the knees. Inhale, exhale. We're going to do a few more crunches with our legs and tabletop. You can squeeze your knees and feet together for this one. Inhale and exhale. Good. We always brace our abs a little bit more when our legs are off the ground. If this bothers your back, your lower back, feel free to keep your feet on the mats. These are also different positions for your hundreds. You can have your feet on the ground. You can have your legs right here in tabletop. You can straighten your legs, stretch those hamstrings, squeeze those quads. Crunch here. Or you can have your legs on the diagonal. Let's do one more crunch. Eye gaze on the kneecaps. Good. Go ahead and pick your leg position for hundreds. Inhale, exhale, crunch up one more time and hold it here. Endurance of the abs as you pump the arms. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale. Reach with the arms. Exhale. 20. Inhale. Arms nice and straight. Exhale. 30. If you want a little more challenge for that imprint, you can lower your legs on the diagonal. 40. Inhale. Exhale. 50. The movement is from your shoulder joint and not from your wrist or elbows. 60. Inhale. Chin tucked. Exhale. 70. Inhale. Exhale. 80. Inhale. Eye gaze on those knees. Try to keep those shoulder blades off the mat if you can. 90. Inhale. And exhale. 100. You do build up some neck strength in time as you do Pilates, but anytime your neck does feel fatigued, feel free to put that head down. So working on our spine muscles, our postural muscles. This is the opposite motion of slouching forward or rounding forward. As I inhale, I'm gently pressing into my forearms. I'm going to feel the muscles around my spine, my lower back, mid back, to elevate the top part of my rib cage. So this is what I call assisted spine extension, right? My arms are assisting me. I'm keeping the tops of the feet on the mat for now. And then I'm gonna do unassisted, so the arms reach toward the toes. I might squeeze my shoulder blades a little bit more, and I might be able to get my chest a little higher off the floor. But think length. The tops of the head is going to reach away from the toes. My chin is still slightly tucked, so I can keep my head and neck aligned with my spine. One of the worst things you can do for your neck is to hyperextend it. So it's like looking up right here. This is hyperextension. Lots of strain. If you don't feel it today, you're going to eventually feel it if you do it enough times. So this is unassisted. And then we're going to do the final version, if you like, resisted. So now the weight of our arms is part of the equation. So my spine is doing a little bit more work, my spine muscles, to lift away the arms. You can do any version I just showed you. There's 3 versions, different arm positions. Give me 2 more. And last one. Great, take your hand right under your shoulder, push yourself up, and give yourself a nice spine stretch. Do that by sitting on your heels, creating a nice curve. We're going to go into a plank. You can do planks on your elbows, on your wrists, on your knees, on your toes. I'm going to be demonstrating on the elbows and on my toes. So the wrists will be underneath the shoulders. I'm going to straighten my legs, squeeze the quadriceps. The quadriceps are the muscles right above the kneecaps, which provide support to the kneecaps. Lower your butt until it's about shoulder height, or where you feel your abdominals kick in. This is targeting your transverse abdominis. Inhale and exhale. So once you've found your proper plank position, we're just going to breathe. Easier said than done. Do 2 more breaths. Eye gaze on the thumbs. Inhale. Exhale. And 1 more breath. Awesome. Good. Find yourself to a seated position. I'm in the front half of my mat so that I don't have to adjust myself later. But you can always adjust yourself so that your head ends up being on the mat. Half roll back. We're going to pretend like we're going to roll all the way down. Tuck your tailbone under. When you're about halfway there, where you feel work in your abdominals, you're going to stop and sit back up. And see if you can come to neutral spine through the crown of your head. Exhale, eye gaze forward, arms forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale. Again, as you're exhaling forcefully out through the mouth, you should feel recruitment in the abdominals. It's okay if you don't get your spine perfectly straight. It's the very act of trying to straighten it, trying to get it from flexion into neutral that engages the correct muscles. Shoulders stay relaxed away from the ears. I'm going to add a little rotation. So as I start to roll back, I'm going to turn towards you, towards my screen. And then as I sit back up, I'm going to come back to neutral. Do it to the opposite side. Exhale. I'm going to basically twist and roll back, half roll back at the same time. Try to anchor those toes to the ground. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So there's a lot of variation to this. In past variations, I've gone straight back and then rotated. This I just have to be rotating at the same time as you're leaning back. I'm going to add 1 more variation to this, and that's going to be a leg lift. So as I turn towards you, I'm also going to lift the leg that's closest to you. So I'm going to turn towards my straight leg. Okay? Return. And I'm going to turn towards my back leg, which is also going to be straight. Now do what works for you in terms of your arms. If it's a little too much to bring both arms across the body, you can keep one arm here in front and just only open up one side of the arm. Okay? So I'm going to keep my front arm right in front of the shoulder, the arm that's closer to you, and then I'm just going to straighten the leg and only move the back arm. So I'm still creating rotation, but I'm not taking both arms with it. And so this kind of helps take away some of the work felt in the abs, right? Because you have sort of an anchor arm. Here you don't have an anchor arm. Want to see the difference? Oh, I feel the difference. I love testing on myself. All right, here we go. Last slide. Let's go ahead and roll all the way down. There's usually variations of things. And feel free to test out all variations, find out what's challenging for you, doable for you. If you're ever wondering what variation is harder, do both and then test it out. I'm gonna straighten one leg and have the other leg in tabletop for my roll up. And these are just variations of the full roll up. Inhale, reach the arms, nod the chin. You're just gonna sequentially pull yourself off the ground by reaching with your arms. And right here, as I start to peel my spine off, I'm gonna kick my leg out to sort of assist with the rolling up part. Now I'm gonna stretch. Now the thing about that kicking out of the leg or the straightening of the leg is do it at a pace or a quickness that you need to assist in the roll up. Keep your heels anchored, legs strong as you roll down. Now again, if I kick my leg out really vigorously, it might give me too much assistance. So we wanna let your abs do the work here. Inhale, arms, head, shoulders, legs, and spine. All right, we're looking for the smoothest roll up possible. Again, anchor your legs. You can flex your feet if you want, but strong quads. Arms can be here, arms can be higher. Again, these are all variations that you can play around with as you roll down slowly and smoothly. Front leg comes up, inhale, exhale. So really just no beginning or end, no pauses, no jerks. Stretch. You can pause here at the stretch, but that's about it. After that, we're gonna just try to be as smooth as possible, rolling down inch by inch, one vertebra at a time, otherwise known as spinal articulation. Inhale, exhale. Some of it's also the timing. So you wanna time your extension of the leg with the roll up, with your ab muscles. And adjust your pants as needed because that's a part of the roll up, adjusting the pants. Okay, so I'm gonna do two more. Instead of lifting my legs on the front and the back, I'm gonna keep them down for the last two. Inhale. Exhale. So when the heels are anchored down, it's a little bit more challenging. With each dive forward toward your toes, we're going to try to deepen that hamstring stretch. Last time. And again, you'll notice the variation, the amount felt in your abs, the amount of work felt in your abs if you raise your arms higher. So if I have my arms up by the ears, and then I lower down, definitely feel a lot more ab work. Okay. We're gonna go into the ab series, and I'm gonna, typically I do it a certain way. I'm gonna do it in reverse today, just for fun. Usually we start with single leg stretch, but we're gonna start with scissors. And I'm gonna get into scissors a little differently. So scissors are basically your legs or your hip flexors moving and your legs moving. So this looks like what we did earlier, right? Instead of lowering and lifting at once, both legs are moving. So start here, imprint, hands pressing into the floor. And then I want you to stop tapping the floor. I want you to sort of minimize the range. Yep. And now I want you to focus on slowly increasing the knee angle. In other words, you're extending the legs. Now, if you don't want to straighten your legs all the way, you don't have to. So this is kind of challenging. I'm still imprinted. But let's get to the point, again, don't worry about moving at a certain speed, keep it slow. Once you've gotten to the point to where you think you're not going to straighten your legs anymore, whether it's all the way straight or mostly straight, you're going to start thinking about increasing the range of motion. All right, so what we did was we started with knees bent, decrease range of motion, straighten the legs, and now we're going to increase range of motion. And the last thing we're going to do is lift the head, neck, and shoulder blades. And this is our full scissor. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I hope the entire time that I didn't talk about the breath, you were still breathing. Inhale, exhale. Now I progress to this point, so you can keep your knees bent, you can minimize range of motion, you can have your knees bent at 90 degrees, it's all good, and you can keep your head, neck, and shoulders down on the floor. Do 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. The good news is that's the hardest ab series exercise, and you just did it. So, the leg stretch. Head, neck, and shoulders can be down. Legs to tabletop, and you stretch both legs out, either more vertically or more horizontally. Test it out. You'll notice that the lower your legs are to the floor, the more challenging it is to maintain the imprint. Head, neck, and shoulder blades off the ground, reaching on the high diagonal, a little more challenging to the abs when your head, neck, and shoulders are lifted. Squeeze your quadriceps every single time. You can point the toe or flex the feet, but your legs are going very active. They're very active during these ab series here. Exhale, inhale. Exhale to straighten the legs. Inhale, come in. Last 2, and last 1. Okay, if we're doing this backwards, what's next? We got obliques. Hands behind the head to support. We can keep the range really small like this. I'm keeping my knees bent. I'm not extending either leg. I'm turning towards the knee that's coming towards my face. Okay, both shoulder blades off the ground, elbows stay wide. Now if I want to extend the legs, I can extend high. Again, straighten those legs, squeeze those quads fully, or I can extend low. Eight, and 7. Exhale on the twist. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Basically, as I'm going to the midline, I'm doing a quick inhale. 3, 2, shoulder blades off the ground, and 1. Ugh. I talk about shoulder blades off the ground because mine just keep getting lower and lower because my abs are getting tired. And the first exercise that you see typically in an ab series is single leg stretch. Your head, neck, and shoulders are down. You stretch out one leg. You stretch out the other. Inhale, exhale. If your neck's not too fatigued and you want to lift those head, neck, and shoulder blades back up, go for it. So no rotation. And there, you've just done the ab series in backward order. Last 4, and 3. Last one. Last pair, I should say. Oh, isn't that just the mean way that I counted? I counted every other one, but I was really just counting legs as opposed to actual movement repetitions. All right, your abs should be pretty fatigued, and so you're gonna welcome wanting to lay on it so that you can stretch it. So anytime we do spine work, it's the opposite of abs. So it's basically an abdominal stretch, spine muscle contraction. We're gonna get some arms involved. So we're gonna swim and do the breaststroke, reaching the arms forward, circling back, and lift. I'm going to do a few without my feet lifting up, and then I'm going to add my legs as I reach my arms back. Exhale here, inhale here. My chest is all the way down, but my arms are always hovering above the floor. They don't rest on the floor here. So chest and spine down. Sorry, my spine is relaxed. And then here, my spine is engaged as my arms reach toward my toes. Now I'm going to add the leg lift right here. As I lift my chest and reach my arm back, I keep my legs straight, firing up, again, my quads, squeezing my butt. And there's your final position. Lower the legs, lower the chest, reach the arms forward. Inhale here. This is called breaststroke. This is obviously not the kind of stroke you do in the water because you probably sink, but the arm is similar. So you would exhale as your head is in the water, and you inhale as you lift your head out of the water. Option to always keep the feet on the ground. Last one. And you probably don't even realize it, but you're spending so much time working on your spine that you probably didn't notice that your abs are being stretched. But they were. And that's kind of the nice thing about Pilates is while you're working on one muscle group, you're stretching the other. When we're working on our quads, we're feeling our hamstring stretch. All right, I'm going to go to sideline. Woo-hoo. This is always kind of a nice change of pace from all the abdominals and spine work we do. The most important thing I would say is that you are in a straight line. If you can see your toes, your head is not part of that line. So we got to get that head lined with your arms. Position your arm properly because if your arm's forward, your head's going to be forward. So that's a quick way. Lift your top arm. You should feel a little unstable, wobbly. You're lying on the side seam. All right, so you should feel a little unstable, and then go ahead and place your kickstand on. Neutral position is when kneecaps and all 10 toenails, including the pinky toes, are facing forward. So this is externally rotated. Can't see my pinky toes anymore, right? And my kneecap is facing up. We want neutral rotation. Now reach that leg as far down away from your head as possible. So this is me kind of shoving my pelvis and hips down so I can have a fully lengthened leg. We're trying to avoid the hip hike. So this is a hip hike. Hiked, not hiked. Hiked, not hiked. We're also trying to work within the hip socket. So the thigh bone is moving within its range of motion, the hip socket, without disturbing the entire pelvis. All right, I usually do 1,000 of these because I'm just trying to set up the movement, the leg not going any higher than the hip. So now let's start the exercises. First one, small, slow circles. Inhale. Exhale. If your foot cramps, mine sometimes does from pointing it so much, you can just draw with your heels. Active flexion. Inhale, circle. Exhale for the next. Reverse direction, slower and smaller. If in doubt, go slower, go smaller. Most people don't want to be the smallest or be the slowest, but in Pilates, it's the winning combination. All right, stagnant leg lift. Pointer, flex your foot. Again, it doesn't really matter. Staggered is the top, then the bottom, lower both. Doesn't matter if your toes are pointed or flexed, but I do recommend an active foot. So it's either one or the other. So here's flexed, flexed, and flexed. We aren't directly working our abs right now, but you do want to draw your abdominals in because they are stabilizers. Keep both legs together, lift and lower, up, down, squeeze them together. So we're not just putting our legs together. I'm squeezing them together as if there's sponges all between my legs. I'm trying to squeeze all the water out of it. Okay, feel free to continue doing this, but I'm going to add the upper body to it. So if your palm of your bottom one isn't already face down, if it's like face up, turn it so it's face down and press into the palm. And you can press into your kickstand hand too, and basically do a side bend. All right, we're becoming a banana. And now you're going to feel work, not just in your outer thighs, but also in your obliques. Yeah, so you're like airing out your armpit. Exhale, good. Now we're going to keep the upper body down again. Lift the legs and scissor, one forward, one back. So you're splitting your legs, keeping them straight. But you should be pretty balanced. Like your front leg shouldn't go so far forward that your whole body tilts forward. Or it shouldn't be going so far back that your whole body falls back. All right, so move slowly and in control. Both legs are off the ground. And try to go into the biggest, widest split you can. So extra squeeze of the butt going back, extra pull of the hip flexors going forward. Because we can just do this little flutter, right? But that's not, we're not about doing it quick in small range of motion. We're trying to do, again, the widest split we can. And now, one last challenge here. Continue the splits and lift the upper body. Split, splits, lower down for 2. Or if you really want to work on endurance, stay lifted. So I'm staying lifted in my splits. But if you don't want to stay lifted, just go lift up for 2 and then lower for 2. All right, finishing up here. And whew. Before we switch sides though, now your obliques might be tired and your outer thighs, we're gonna do a little work on the bottom leg. So you don't really need your arm as a kickstand anymore because your top leg has become a kickstand. Whenever I work on my inner thighs, the bottom leg, I much prefer to have my foot flexed. I just personally feel a lot more inner thighs when my foot's flexed compared to when it's pointed. Continue that neutral position so the foot is parallel to the floor as it lifts as high as possible. You can lift as high as possible because your top leg stops you. Whereas the top leg, if I told you to lift as high as possible, you lift too high. Little circles time. Remember what I said about little circles? Slow and small. Inhale. Exhale. At the highest point, you're making the circles. Inhale. Exhale. Leg is straight. Reach that heel out. Reverse direction. Slow. Small. Two more. All right. That's it for the bottom leg. The reason why it's important to work on your outer thigh and inner thigh muscles is because they attach to your pelvis. They very much support your hip and pelvis area. And core muscles or anything that attaches to your spine and pelvis. It's not just your abs, not just your lower back. So it's important to work all your core muscles. All right, so we're set up on the other side, a nice straight line. Use the edge of your mats. Head should be supported. Stare straight ahead and don't look for your toes. Trust me, they're there. Hopefully you have your device maybe in front of you, or you have mirrors in front of you, you can sort of see. your technique. If you're not sure if you're in the right position, just lift the arm for a moment. If you feel too stable, most likely means you're leaning back on your butt. How's our hip hike? Have we had enough of this? Okay, let's do those. Let's do those excruciating circles. Inhale. Exhale. If you finish after me, the 6 circles, that's great. It means you're slower than I am. 2 more. I'm doing 6 in each direction. Reverse. Inhale for 1. Exhale for the 2nd. Inhale for the 3rd. My leg already feels like it's going to fall off. Last 2. Don't let the leg fall after this. Bring the bottom one up to meet it. Now they can lower. Inhale, lift the top. Exhale, the bottom, and lower. 2 movements happen on the exhale. But that's not super critical. The critical part is that you're breathing. So if you want to do 2 movements on the inhale and then exhale to lower both, that's quite okay. One other thing to watch out for is that you're not piking. So again, if you can see your toes, it's not a good sign, right? Because if your neck is in neutral, but you can see your toes, it means you brought your toes forward or your legs forward. Let's go ahead and lift both legs. So you've already seen everything we did on the other side, and if my memory doesn't fail me, I will do every single exercise that we did on the first side. So this is double leg lift. Squeeze your legs together, activate those inner thighs. Pretend you got a lot of dollar bills in there. You don't want to lose a single one. Just kidding. Palms. If they're not already face down, face it down and press into the floor and lift to air out your armpits. Now, it is an oblique move. Don't be afraid to push into the floor, because honestly, you can push as hard as you want into the floor. And yeah, you'll get some lats, right? You'll just work this muscle down here. But you're still really feeling a lot of obliques, no matter how much you push on the floor, because you're lifting your legs. Our legs are a much longer part compared to how long our torso is. So like when you lifted your leg, your obliques are already working. Don't look for your toes. They're still there. All right, we're gonna keep the head down, keep the torso down, lift the leg and splits. You might be more flexible in the hamstring in one leg. Like maybe when your right leg goes forward, it can go so much more forward than the left. But you want to, even if you're not splitting equally each time, you want to try to have the same distance traveled going forward and back. Which basically means if your left leg is less flexible going forward, your right leg is not going to go back as much. All right, John, I could do the right split. When my right leg was forward, I could go all the way down the splits, but with my left leg forward, it was nowhere close to being a split where my butt was on the ground. Okay, if you'd like to add the torso lift for your scissors, go for it. Put a little more weight to those hands instead of just fingertips if you want. So you can lift up for 2, switch, switch, lower down, switch, switch, lift, switch, switch, and lower. Or if you really want to work on endurance, just stay out for 4 more, let's see. Okay, we're not done yet. Relax. Take your top leg forward. Give your kickstand arm a break. Again, I like to flex my foot, but you absolutely can point it. The important thing is that you are in neutral leg position. You can tell if you're neutral because your foot's parallel. Hard to tell if it's parallel there. Or maybe not. Lift your bottom leg as high as it'll go. Keep the leg really straight and strong. You can also imagine like there's a cinder block or some really, really heavy object on your ankle, and you have to fire up all the muscles in your legs in order to lift that cinder block. Small, slow circles. Lift it as high as you can first, and now make the circle. 6 in each direction. I admit my circles don't even look like circles right now. My legs are tired. Reverse direction. Three more. Keep breathing. Don't worry about the shape. You can make a amoeba shape, cell shape, squiggly line. Okay. Oof. I do feel my inner thighs a lot. We should probably stretch. Okay, we'll do a quick stretch. Ankle over the knee. If you feel a stretch, keep that. Or if you want to deepen the stretch, pull in. Keeping the head and neck aligned with the spine. I've seen some people like crunch up like this to do the stretch. I just keep my spine and head in neutral. Let's switch sides. If I want to deepen the stretch, I just keep pulling the legs towards my chest. Even if that lifts my butt a little bit. All right, I want to do an inner thigh stretch though, which ends up being an inner thigh stretch. A stretch and strengthen one. So I'm going to turn my body just a little bit, but I start with my legs straight and vertical, and then I'm going to open up. Now, most likely you're going to do a little external rotation, and that's normal, right? Let gravity almost pull your legs down. If you need to support your legs, go for it. In case gravity wants to pull your legs down further than you actually want it to go, and you don't want to strain your groin. And now you're going to squeeze your inner thigh muscles like there's some force keeping your legs apart. And you really have to squeeze in order to get your legs together. And then when you get your heels together, squeeze a little more. And then slowly open, relax. Feel the stretch, feel the hip opening. Contract. So I'm inhaling here, I'm exhaling to relax. I'm inhaling to hold at the bottom, then I'm exhaling again to squeeze. Again, you have to use your imagination a little bit to imagine more resistance as you come up. Gravity is already a resistance, but you get a little bit more. Now, try with your foot flexed. Flex. Oh, more calves. Exhale, open. Inhale. Exhale. Bring it in. Let's do one more time. It changes up the exercise when your foot's flexed versus pointed. Feel free to try both. All right, and your abs here are still working, stabilizing to maintain imprints. Feet down on the ground, hip distance apart. Hip flexor stretch. So whenever we lift our legs, our hip flexors are actually engaging. Our hip flexors were in an extended state during the Sideline Leg Lift series, which is good. All right. Now, I'm going to be doing some single leg motion. If it bothers your knees, continue doing the double leg hip bridges. Here, I'm no longer articulating. I'm pushing straight up. My entire spine comes off the ground. I drop my tailbone straight to the ground. Okay, so lift the leg, doesn't matter which. The leg that is still on the ground, that's the glute that's working. But we're gonna do some choreography with the top leg. So I'm gonna push up, keep your leg as straight as possible. It's okay if it's slightly bent. Lift up, circle one way, circle the other way. Lower, lift, same side. Circle one way. We're basically endurance of the butt in the amount of time it takes to circle. Circles are going to be small and slow again. I would say the circle is probably going to be a little bigger than the sideline ones, just because it's really hard to make tiny ones, but maybe the size of an apple or an orange or a lemon or a cantaloupe. One in each direction. One more time. So really firing up the glute here, getting both hips equal heights. All right, let's switch. So both hips should go up to the same height as when both feet are on the ground. Even just because there's only one leg on the ground doesn't mean the hips don't go to the same height. Exhale, alternate the breath. Inhale, circle. Exhale, circle. Inhale, drop down. Exhale, push up. In. Out. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift again. So I was touching my hips, but you can have your hands on the ground. All right, that's it. I think I did the same number on each side. And if I didn't, and I'm off by one, I'm super sorry. We're gonna do some teasers. So back to the abs, back to the roll up. Here, you want your legs in tabletop, spine imprinted. Part of this is about timing, and the other is part about mobility. Inhale, arms, head, neck, shoulders. We're looking for smoothness again. So right when you're starting to feel like you're gonna get stuck, you're gonna extend the legs, use your abs to roll yourself up and find balance on your tailbone. Again, very similar to the roll up, but this time our feet are off the ground. Extend your legs so that you can roll down with control. Feel your abs and return to start position. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale, roll down. Inhale, exhale. This is one variation of the teaser. There's many. You don't have to keep your legs straight, but if you want to, you can. If they're straight already, then you just have to roll down. So let me show you that. Inhale, exhale, extend to straight. Inhale here, exhale, roll down. Now, I'm going to go back to what we did in that beginning where we did that rotate, where we turn toward the front leg. So let's try this variation for fun. Isn't this fun? Inhale, exhale, roll up. So I am going to bend my knees. I'm going to turn toward the front and straighten the front leg. Woohoo! Let's go back down. Try to the back side. Inhale. Exhale. I'm purposely keeping my knees bent here so that I can turn towards my back leg and straighten my back leg. Back to the center. Rolled in. Let's try one more time to each side. These are optional. Everything's optional. This whole class is optional. So do any teaser variation you want. If you don't want to do teasers, you can do another exercise, anything. Oh. Exhale, turn. Inhale, center. Exhale, roll down. Keep breathing. Keep alternating the breath. If I say inhale and you're exhaling, it's okay. Just keep breathing. Inhale here, exhale. Turn, twist, extend. That's it. We did it. We did it. Your abs should be pretty fatigued. Let's stretch the abs. When we're stretching the ab, it is not about the imprint at all. We're intentionally popping that rib cage off the mats. We're trying to find as much space underneath our spine as possible. We're creating an arch. Good. Another way of stretching, if you want to flip over, to stretch the abs is this. And if you want, you press up more. And this is all about the stretch. Now, some of this may bother anyone's lower back, so don't feel like you need to come up on your wrist. Right here is a great enough stretch. Just to kind of get some motion back in our spine here. Get those wrists underneath the hips. Nope, get the wrists underneath the shoulders. Get the knees underneath the hips. And move from the tops of your head down to your tailbone, which means if I'm making a rainbow with my spine, my tailbone tucks under and my head drops. And if I'm doing a smile, the top of my head will be upward, as is my tailbone. But remember what I said about hyperextending the neck. It's not about looking up as high as possible. It's about keeping the head and neck mostly in line with your spine. So a slight curve, neutral, eye gaze on the floor, and then spine flexion, maybe looking at the knees. Neutral, looking at the floor, and here most likely looking at the edge of my mat, the front edge. Okay, well done. Thank you so much for joining me for Pilates. I hope you got whatever you came to get out of it. Okay, I can't speak English, but you know what I'm saying. Thank you for coming.